and it will go to YouTube as well. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. As you will see, this is a little bit different format from the Simper Faster Better guy, the guy in the blue shirt. I had a major power outage this morning, so I'm actually doing this for the first time on an iPad. So I'm not going to be as interactive as normal. So I wanted to also thank Leanne Huffman for being super flexible. We had to do a lot of text messaging this morning to make this happen. And we're going to be talking about resiliency. So, LeAnn, why don't you welcome everybody from Dallas, Texas, and everywhere else around the world that's watching, and we'll go from there.
Thank you, Bruce. I really appreciate you inviting me to be on your podcast today. Really nice thing. My name is Leanne Huffman, and I'm a business support strategist. And as Bruce said, I'm from the DFW Metroplex. I help executives and C-level business owners with whatever projects or day-to-day activities that they need. I'm there to support them.
Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
you've been doing that for a while, right?
Gosh, yes. I've probably been doing this probably since 2003. I've had my own company, and I've been employed off and on at different corporations, helping different people. So yes, I've been doing it for a while, but
Awesome.
I really enjoy it.
Yep. And we're going to talk about a very topical subject right now, which is being resilient or resiliency. And talk about an example this morning of the guy in the blue shirt having to be resilient. First of all,
I know you were.
have to figure out how to get my car out of the garage with no power, and then I had to figure out to find a internet connection somewhere where I could use an iPad. So there we go. So
I know. Good job. You were resilient this morning. Or this afternoon, wherever you might be, tonight, wherever you might be.
Yeah, I hope power will be back tonight. Anyway, so what's your definition of resiliency or being resilient, LeAnn?
Honestly, I think being resilient means that you're able to recover from anything that any difficult situation that comes your way, conditions, experiences, and boy, we've had quite the year, haven't we, of resiliency. 2020 has been unlike anything I know me personally, have ever experienced. I think that we're all collectively going through one of the most challenging periods that we've ever probably had in our lifetimes. It's definitely different from the past. And yeah. And honestly, the worst thing that probably a lot of people could be doing these days is trying to benchmark yourself against anything before pre-COVID-19, because those days are long gone, as we all know. This is a new and different world. And to kind of keep your sanity these days, you've got to readjust your expectations on not just on your job situation, but just in life.
Right.
It's turned most of our lives sideways, as I'm sure a lot of your listeners can attest to. And we're all trying to learn to be more resilient and to learn resiliency.
Right.
So right now's not the time to beat yourself up and slide into a rabbit hole if things aren't going well in your life. I personally can understand how you feel. You're not alone. I read this morning, it was crazy, that we had 55 million Americans file for unemployment since the outbreak started. And just in November, we've had almost 11 million Americans file for unemployment. That's amazing.
Yeah, that is a staggeringly big number. And I wish we could figure out a word to combine resiliency and empathy, because I think, and adaptability. Actually, 3 words. I think if we could figure out the trifecta
Yeah.
of resiliency, being adaptable, and being empathetic, we would that for me, that's what sums up at least my year for 2020, and I think it's going to go a bunch longer. For those of you that don't know, I'm in Los Angeles County, and at 11:59 last night, they instructed people to go to a lockdown status again, other than essential businesses. So
Yeah.
I know. So trying to find internet, none of the cafes are open again.
Wow.
It was a
Yeah.
challenge.
It is a challenge. We haven't quite gone back to complete shutdown like that yet here at least not in the DFW Metroplex, but I know that they are strongly encouraging people to be aware of your surroundings, social distance, and try to mask up as much as possible, which I know everybody's trying to do anyway. But what I could say is, at this point in our lives, the worst thing we could do is panic because there are things we can do to make improvements in our life and to become more resilient. I would say if you're like me in the midst of a transition, which is what I'm trying to do, I'm really trying hard to stay positive and looking forward to my next opportunity, my next adventure, whatever that might be. So,
so you mentioned about, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll let you ask.
Well, you mentioned about the elements of a plan. So what are the questions that you both ask yourself, and maybe what we should ask ourselves for building a plan of resilience or a resiliency plan, LeAnn?
Well, I'll be honest with you, Bruce. I think the first question that I ask myself a lot these days is, how can I make peace with the unknown? Yeah. Because
that is a great question. And actually, I see Gracie Ruth Melendez is on here. So,
okay.
Gracie, yeah, there are a few people here. Let me see. There's Gracie Ruth. There's Karina. Tom, I think it's Tom. Yeah, Tom. Apologies, I'm working on my iPad, not my normal setup. So the print is real small for an old boy like me to read.
That's okay. I'm just glad people are here and they're showing up, and hopefully they're all learning something. But yes, I will tell you that it's very easy to be constantly upset, constantly worried, constantly, because it's the fear of the unknown. People don't know what's going to happen, but you have to make peace with it, because if you don't, it will make you a little bonkers.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question. So, Gracie Ruth, if you get chance, I know you're good at putting active comments in here, because I definitely can't do that today on the iPad here. So, yeah. So any questions that LeAnn asks that are of interest or inspiring to everybody, just pop them in the comments. That would be great.
Yes, please. I would be happy to answer them. My next question that I had was, how do I practice gratitude? Because I'll tell you that sometimes it's very easy to get into this dark place and not realize how much you have going in your lives. I know for myself that I try to I have a positive mantra that I try to repeat to myself every day. And I remember the little boy that did this. His mother filmed him when he was on his way to school every day. This was probably like in the last year and a half, but it was, I'm smart, I am blessed, and I can do anything.
Oh, wow. That is a great one. I'm going to say that back in return. I am smart, I am blessed, and I can do anything. Is that what?
That's it. That's it. I say that 3 times to myself almost every day. Sometime during the day that I'm out, it might be when I'm out walking, or I'm just thinking about things, because I think that when you do things like that, reaffirm to yourself that, it's going to be okay and you're going to make it. That's that was one of the things I said. The next thing I had was, if I could change anything in my life, what would it be?
Mm-hmm.
What
So
would
is
it
that
be?
like the imagine question? I use imagine if blank blank blank. Is
That's
that
right. That's right. That was one of the questions I had was, and I think I wrote it down here somewhere, but I said that if I could change anything in my life, what would it be?
mm-hmm.
And that's where let your imagination run wild. Think about, this is your time. This is when if you're not actively employed and you have the time, this is it. This is when you
Mm-hmm.
sit down and start thinking about what it is that you'd like to do. This would be the big pivot. As I mentioned earlier on one of the promos I did this morning, this is definitely the time to pivot
Mm-hmm.
and try to turn things around. And
Right.
the next question I had is, what would be the best version of you, what it would look like in the first half of 2021?
Oh wow, that's a good one. What is the
Yeah.
best version of you, and what would it look like in Q1, 2021? Right.
Yes.
That
Yes.
kind of rhymes. Q1, 21. How about
Yes.
that?
Yes. And then the next part would be, what steps would you need to take to make that happen? I
Yeah.
mean, you've got to sit down and give it some thought. Maybe think about, what would your days look like?
Mm-hmm.
Or, how would you spend your days doing what? And another question I had is, what great things were a part of your life before COVID, before all this, that you're trying to rebuild now?
Okay, that's a good one. So, what great things were part of your life before COVID that you're trying to rebuild now?
Yes.
Awesome. And that one, I guess, would be in Imagineering, as I call it. That one might be where you could add in some improvements or make
Yes.
things. In my case, I'm a simpler, faster, better practitioner. So, I try
Yes.
and be the product of my process, which is to always make my life simpler, faster, better. So,
Right. And I'll tell you, it's good, think about things that you never imagined. Like, for instance, for you, it's your podcast, all your podcasts that you have. You're
yeah.
trying to improve your life. You're trying to get the word out. You're trying to share your wealth of knowledge with other people and their wealth of knowledge with other people.
Yes.
So that's a good thing. Um,
Yeah, I could never have imagined myself being a LinkedIn live host this time last year. And I was doing LinkedIn locals, as I mentioned to you, with my
yes,
co-host, Gracie Ruth, who's on the live here. But even Gracie Ruth and I, we've transitioned into our LinkedIn local virtuals now for our Southern California connections. And again, I would never have imagined myself doing that along with, thousands and thousands of other people being,
yes,
more digital and being in a virtual world. I mean,
right.
look at me. I'm in Canyon Country, California, sitting outside a Starbucks using their Wi-Fi to do this live. How about
Yeah.
that?
Well, hey, and the magic or the secret word here, once again, I'm going to say it, is learning how to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to learn how to redirect your goals, how
Right.
to, how to find your happy in life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. You have to be resilient. You can't just throw your hands up and say, "Oh, well, I'm done," because no one's going to help pull you out of the rabbit hole but you. I mean, I've learned that the hard way too.
Yeah.
Um,
Find your happy place in life. Oh, I
that,
love that one. Find your happy. That's a good
right.
one too. Yeah.
So those were the big questions. Other than, moving forward, how you're going to move forward in 2021. You need to be open-minded. There's kind of a rawness to it, to be honest with you. You have to think, how can I change my life and still make myself happy and make a living doing it? That's the most important part. I mean, you have to, if
Mm-hmm.
maybe you already have a job, maybe you're just trying to recreate yourself while you still have that job. And if you are, great, good for you. But if you're unemployed, furloughed, whatever you want to call it, and you're looking for your next adventure, then you're going to have to, redirect and pivot yourself and come up with some new ideas that make you happy. That something,
Right.
I always say that if you have a passion for what you're doing, then you'll be successful. I really do believe that.
Right, and adding to your pivot thinking, Leanne, I actually like the word adapting and adopting. To me, pivot is kind of more of a short-term thing. I know why people use it, but it's kind of to me, it's more short-term. The longer-term gain for me is how do you adapt and how do you adopt either new ways, new methods, new thinking, new attitude. So
Right.
and I love the gratitude. People say, the attitude of gratitude is what makes us all thankful, right?
And it is. It's true. I gotta say something funny. And you're right. Pivot is probably more short term. But I always think of the episode of Friends, where
Uh-huh.
Ross Geller is trying to get his couch up the stairs, and he's got. Remember that he kept saying "perfect,"
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was kind of funny. I mean, I thought it was
Sure.
funny. I got a good chuckle out of it. But
Wow.
anyway, those are the big things that I came up with on the questions that you can ask yourself to build a plan for resiliency, your visions for 2021.
Yep. It's a great time to do it. In fact, I'm actually working with a collaborator to do mine. I'm actually working on a whole strategy around clarity with a meaningful connection of mine called Connie Medina. So I'm very happy that I met her over a year ago, and she's in Southern California, so we're on the same time zone, and that's exactly where I'm at right now, is doing the clarity confirmation sessions.
Yes, and that's so important. And you're right. Now is the time, Bruce, for people
Mm-hmm.
to start making the plans on how they're going to move ahead in 2021. Not just career goals. I mean, personal goals too.
Yep.
But it's time to sit down and give it some serious thought, because as we both mentioned at the top of the podcast, it's unfortunately, I think that until we get a vaccine out and things start turning around a little bit, we're going to kind of be where we are right now, at least for the first quarter, I think, of 2021.
Yeah.
Hopefully it turns around before then, but I think that that realistically, that is probably what we're looking at for a goal. So
Yeah. It's really going to depend on the industry. I have a insight into the aircraft parts business, and due to it's probably going to be a 1 to 2 year recovery for aircraft parts business, and so it's really dependent on the type of industry and how big you are or how diverse you are. So
right,
that's
definitely. But
the
some of the things I thought of about moving forward,
mm-hmm.
excuse me, is I just want people to realize that I can't emphasize this enough, that you're not alone, because I think a lot of people start to feel isolated, trying to think of ways to move forward. If you're not moving, you're kind of stuck. You're
Right.
not. So I mean, moving backward is definitely not the ideal. So moving forward is what needs to happen and what needs to be done. And I know that we're all trying to come at this from a place of reality and being open-minded.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would say is everyone gets rejected for something. Everyone loses out to somebody at some point in their life for some type of promotion, or even gets ghosted, for that matter, after
Mm-hmm.
you've had an amazing interview. I know I felt that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and all of a sudden they just kind of disappear, or you get a thanks but no thanks kind of. So
Right.
what I'm trying to say is that all of these experiences, I think, help build resiliency. Um,
Right.
so you have to be open to all the possibilities. You have to consider social media marketing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's helpful. You've definitely got to communicate with and I have found this myself, especially on LinkedIn. I will
Mm-hmm.
say that in the last probably 4 months, 5 months, I have found that I get what I give as far as communications and contacting people. And it does make a big difference when you are actively trying to build your contacts. And what I
Mm-hmm.
would say is quality over quantity.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, but I think that it anyone can go out and connect with somebody, but what you need to do is try to connect with people that you know are quality contacts that you can help each other in turn is
Right.
what I would say. Um,
Yep. I
and
agree.
something, yeah, and something else I'll say is you can't believe everything that's on social media. A lot of people, I think they get a little caught up in that. They get, they maybe start comparing themselves to other people, and that's not good either.
Right.
So just focus on you and making yourself move ahead, get off the mark, and and
Yeah.
try to stay ahead of yourself.
Sure.
I also
Yeah.
think, okay,
Go
I'm
on.
sorry.
Well, I was going to say, what you just described is a great observation, and also my definition of a more meaningful connection. So I
Yes,
try and build upon meaningful connections rather than massive amounts of connections. So,
yes.
meaningful versus mass. And then the other thing that was ringing in my head when you were talking about things is have another Southern California connection. Her name's Elise Croft, and she always says that if you can get through the emotions with plenty of motion, then you'll keep moving forward. So that
That's
was,
smart too. I like that. I
yeah.
like
So
that.
so getting stuck in emotion, just drive yourself to motion, and you'll get through it. So
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Um, so here's what I would do. This is what I do for myself too. I think about all of my past um, milestones, my accomplishments. I don't
uh-huh.
I don't stay stuck on them. But I think of them. I don't care what size they are, big or small. Try to remember the reasons why you're exceptional, why you stand out from the crowd, and what you have to offer to people. I think that's always helpful. I also think that it's good to maintain a daily routine to stay
Mm-hmm.
focused. And to be honest with you, to have some semblance of normalcy, I think a lot of people just kind of, and I will say this, I was guilty of this probably like for the first month after I was laid off,
Mm-hmm.
that I just kind of, I was just trying to run all the time and not stay focused, not schedule things on my calendar and say, okay, I'm going to work on this from this time to this time. I'm going to work on this from this time to this time. Of course, you're going to have interruptions. You're going to have things that pop up that are out of your control. But if you try to maintain some type of schedule, I think it's going to help you build and make you feel a little bit more in control, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that is excellent guidance. So talking of schedule, I know you and I both have somewhere to be.
Yes,
So any last thoughts? Well, a couple of things. I need to give a shout out to Rever.
yes,
Rever, my brand ambassador. And if you want to learn more about how to empower your frontline teams, you can go to reverscore.com. And in fact, I'm also a user of the Rever tools, and Gracie Ruth Melendez and I are learning to use them together. So we're having fun with that. And
good.
so, what would be maybe your last thoughts on moving into 2021, and then what's the best way for people to reach out to you, Leanne, if they want more information or if they'd like to form the start of a meaningful connection with you? How would you like to have that done?
Well, my last words of, I don't want to say wisdom, but I would say definitely have a goal,
Mm-hmm.
have goals, have a plan,
Mm-hmm.
practice. I would say practice self-care. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's super important, not just your mind, but also, exercise, even if it's just going outside and walking around. I think that
Yeah.
helps. I think that helps build your stamina, but also kind of clears your mind and helps you to be more resilient. So
Right.
those are my last tips. If you'd like to reach out to me, please do so on LinkedIn. I'm Leanne Huffman. I'm on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to accept any invitations or connections,
Awesome.
and see what we can do together.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, obviously, thank you again. I'm struggling to see in the comments who actually was on the live without me
Yeah,
dropping my iPad. So, so thank
that's
you. If I didn't call out your name or recognize you, if you're seeing this as a replay, you can still add questions for Leanne or myself in the comments, and that's another good way, Leanne, once I figure out how to post it to you, because
sure.
again, I'm not used to using it on an iPad. So,
Well, you
so
know what, Bruce, you've done so good today. Thank you.
hey,
You've
you're
done
welcome.
really well.
Well, you're welcome. I didn't want to miss the opportunity. It's a long time since we'd caught
I
up
know. I know it is.
from our days back in when I was in Dallas Fort Worth with you. So,
I know. I know.
yeah. All right, so if you'd like to just hang for a minute, I will let you know the next steps. And again, thank you so much for the live contribution of comments. Apologies I can't shout them out here or shout out any questions. If you're seeing this as a replay, then drop your comments and or questions to us, and we will get back to you in the next day or so. And thanks again, Leanne, for sharing your wisdom and your thoughts on, the whole resilient and being building resiliency as we move into 2021.
Yes. Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.